Rio, where are you going? You haven't listened to the Shenmue AM2 podcast yet.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shenmue AM2 podcast. We're your hosts, Andrew
and Matt.
And in this episode, we are here to conceptualize our own theoretical versions of Shenmue 0. So we're putting a backstory prior to the first game. Matt has some of his ideas down. I have some of mine. And by some of mine, I literally have 2 lines written. It's more in my head here. But we'll see how this episode turns out.
Well, I don't have much written either, but I was going to come, mostly because I'm fuzzy on characters' backstories and what happened and what didn't happen and who knew who and stuff. So I'm going to need you to help massage out my plot of my Shenmue 0.
My idea intentionally, because... I don't want to spoil it. I'll get into why, though I did mine the way I envisioned it. Mm-hmm. So we need to decide who's going to go first. So we'll rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
Alright, I get to go first. We did scissors, and then I did scissors again, and poor old Matt put out paper.
Yeah.
Matt always putting out paper.
Nothing beats paper.
So I'll go first. So, couple guidelines for mine. Mine is set in a world where Shenmue 1 has already been released.
Same with mine.
Shenmue 2 has already been released as well. And Shenmue 3 has not been released yet.
Okay.
So it's essentially in the world we're living in right now.
Basically, your game released today.
It's hot on the shelves. You can rent it at Blockbuster. Blockbuster was no, just kidding.
For those who are too young to remember,
it wasn't a red box outside of a Walmart. So, mine kind of will have a mechanic similar to Yakuza 0, where you're switching between 2 characters.
Okay.
The characters being Ryo Hazuki and Iwa Hazuki, his father. So, the majority of the game is going to be Ryo living his life and training towards a martial arts, or he's registered, or however you want to put it, going to be in a martial arts tournament. So, kind of Karate Kid-esque. Fukusan is also there. So, the main game is kind of... I haven't played any of the Persona games, but it's kind of like living your high school life type idea. Friendship is important. And there's going to be this kind of balancing act between training, socializing, and morality, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And kind of balancing those 3 categories, if we'll call them that. And eventually you would get into this tournament. And essentially how the tournament culminates is... Are you familiar with the movie The Quick and the Dead?
I know of it. I can't remember if I've seen it.
So essentially, it's an old Western movie. Well, it's not actually that old. And essentially, Gene Hackman is this villain, and he essentially runs this little Western town. People are terrified of him. He creates this, draw tournament where people just stand in the street and shoot one another. And the tournament boils down to 4, the semifinals we'll call it. You have 4 characters. You have Gene Hackman, who is the villain. You have his son, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a good guy. You have Russell Crowe, who's this guy that's imprisoned and just beaten and shamed upon. He's a religious man, so he's a good guy. And you have Sharon Stone's character, who she's kind of there to put justice in the town, and she's a good guy. So you have quarterfinals, but you have 3 good guys and 1 villain.
Yeah.
So the math on that doesn't work, right?
2 good guys got to kill each other.
So you're going to have a good guy, and then a good guy, bad guy.
Yeah.
So essentially, the villain in this is just going to be kind of like Johnny from Karate Kid. Just this, like, tough, amped-up kid. Appreciates martial arts, but maybe going down the wrong track.
Rio stole his girlfriend.
Maybe not that much. It's been a while since I've seen Karate Kid. And I haven't watched all the new one yet, which Matt has, and it's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I watched the first 2 episodes.
Cobra Kai's great.
I'll probably break down and buy those.
Yeah.
So this guy is kind of mouthing off at Rio and kind of making fun of Fukusan, you know, like treating Fukusan like he's not necessarily the smartest guy, which you kind of get that vibe off of him in the first game. Yeah. And then the other guy is just another guy that, like, Rio goes to school with or something.
Motorcycle guy.
Yeah, him, whoever. Like, it's someone that he's buddies with. You know, they're competitive, they respect one another. And the quarterfinals come down to Rio versus that guy and Fukusan versus the Johnny-esque character. He beats Fukusan in a disrespectful manner. Rio wins his quarterfinal fight or semifinal fight. The two of them are going to face off in the finals. Now, throughout this entire game, there's going to be little bits where you play as Iwa, but there's no context to them. So you'll all of a sudden, like when Rio goes to sleep or something, he'll have a dream, but then you're playing as Iwa, and you're in a situation, and the situation that you're put in, like Iwa is fighting someone or having a conversation, but you don't necessarily get the start of the conversation, and you don't necessarily get the end of the conversation. So you're not sure if he's the hero or if Iwa's the protagonist or the antagonist, put it. And it's like that the entire game.
And you never find out?
And you never find out, because we're going to find out in Shenmue 3. So that's why it's very important where, in real life, where this game lands in the release timeline. Obviously, timeline-wise, it's beforehand. And so as you're in this match with the Johnny-esque character, it's going to be kind of long and drawn out, and it's going to go back and forth between Rio and Iwa. And it ends up with Iwa in Moon Swoon. And he's, happens, and you don't know if he kills the man, but it appears that he may have. So, what Lan Di claims in Shenmue 1, we don't really know if it happened. Probably did, I would say. So it ends, the Iwa aspect of the storyline kind of ends in this vague setting up what Lan Di talks about when he's in the Hazuki dojo. Cutting back to Rio, he wins the tournament. Dark Side Hazuki something. He's, having a similar memory flashback, if you want to call it. Like he has in the first game. With Iwa training him or something. Man, I'm coughing here. With Iwa training, and it's flashing back to him as a younger child, and he's, having these memories, and something just kind of clicks in his brain. He does a move, he wins the tournament. At the end of the tournament, Ine-san's there, an injured Fukusan who's been beat up from his match. He comes over, they're all kind of there in this, it's like a high school gymnasium, we'll say, set in the 80s. Maybe it's Suka High, whatever that Goro calls it. It ends with them being there. Throughout the game, prior to all of this, it's just kind of living that stereotypical teenage life, dealing with girls. So, you're going to have those interactions with Nozomi, leading up to, it's still being the same in Shenmue 1 as it plays out.
Does he show her any more attention before his father died than he does after his father dies?
Not really. You'll kind of get the sense that he wants to understand how she feels, but kind of maybe gets distracted. The playing mechanics would be very similar to Shenmue 1. There would be more training sessions, though, and they would work out a bit different than just being in, say, a parking lot. There would be more kind of sparring with Fukusan.
Your dad?
Or your dad. You could teach Fukusan moves. Fukusan teaches you moves. Iwa teaches the two of you moves. So there's more interaction. There would be some other sort of like male mentor as well, like maybe like his coach at school or something that will kind of intersperse moves as well.
Well, we know he has a karate coach.
Yeah,
who's mentioned.
It would work kind of like how the homeless guy gives him advice. A similar style character to that kind of knows Iwa or knows of Iwa and passes on knowledge to him. And then when it culminates after he's won his match, it just kind of shows like Iwa come over like he's proud of him. Fukusan's like, oh, you kind of avenged me. Ine-san's kind of like, oh, she likes seeing Iwa and Ryo together. And there's just kind of not like a group hug, I would say, but like the four of them are very, very close.
This is great. Nothing bad's ever going to happen to these people.
But hold on now. So it's the cinematic shot I have in my mind is like it's a very far out shot of them just kind of in the gym, and it's kind of slowly zooming in, and you're just assuming that it's just going to kind of show like the four of them kind of looking at one another and hey, Ryo won. And as it zooms in though, it starts to zoom into them but like kind of past their shoulder off to the side, and you just see the two black suits with like the suits that show with Long D. They just kind of look at each other and they're kind of like standing in the doorway of the gym, and they just leave.
So this takes place right before the first game then?
Not necessarily right before, but it's the reconnaissance that Long D's having his thugs do to kind of understand the routine of the Hazukis so he can make his move. But this last shot is just gives you the idea that it's coming in on them, and then just slowly pans off to like the right or left or whatever, and you see the guys in the suits look at each other, nod, and leave, and then credits roll.
Nice.
What would you add to mine?
Well, I mean, you'd have to come up with something besides the tournament, because this tournament's like the culmination of the whole thing. So you need some sort of
there would be some
antagonist before then.
There would be some teenage drama going on with this Johnny S character, like in school and things like that, I imagine. And really kind of treating Ryo like he's taking care of Fukusan. And Fukusan's like 8 or 9 years older than Ryo, isn't he?
Something like that.
And just kind of like being very disrespectful and very bullyish to him. And Ryo just kind of keep your friends, family close. Really kind of living out those words before he's ever necessarily heard them from his father type idea.
So it plays mostly the same, it's just got extra social aspects to it.
Social aspects of training, and that affects your ability to fight in the tournament, and how easy / difficult it would make your fights. There's still going to be QTEs. There's going to be QTEs in school, like you're sitting there talking to Nozomi, and the teacher's writing something on the blackboard, and you turn around and talk to her and knock your textbook off your desk, and it's going to hit the floor. And the teacher's going to turn around, so you catch that book. Things like that. Just it'll be more of a.
Were you paying attention? Answer this question correctly.
Yeah, it'll be very like real to life, teenage, angsty, just living their daily life.
I wouldn't mind a Shenmue crossed with Persona. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So that's mine. What do you have here?
Well, mine has. First of all.
Oh, hold on. Does yours have a title?
No.
I did not give mine a title either. Mine would just.
I thought it was just Shenmue 0.
Mine would be Shenmue 0.
Yeah. First of all, pop quiz. Who's the only other person in the game? I believe I'm right about this. The only other person in the game besides Ryo who gets flashback scenes. Second game specifically.
Oh, Zhuang.
Yeah. Why is Yu Ying so important that she gets flashback scenes just like Ryo?
I like where you're going.
So my Shenmue 0 stars Zhu Ying. And I didn't even think of this until you said that yours stars two characters, but there's the potential this could star both Zhu Ying and Ziming. And you could follow them as they're both kids in their orphanage. The little comic that involves both of them, like a 2-3 page comic, shows that they've been training in martial arts together since they were young children. I don't know if that was when their parents were still around or if their parents were gone by that point, but at some point, they're orphaned. But they've always been training together, and so yeah, you could start as kids, learn martial arts with your brother.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised that I didn't think that you would have picked a Zhu Ying backstory.
Because she's my favorite?
Yeah. Continue.
And then your parents get killed, and you have to go to the orphanage, and there's mean people at the orphanage, and you gotta stick together and care for each other. But eventually Ziming, his rage over his parents' death gets too great, and he splits off from Zhu Ying. And we'll say from there you've been playing as Zhu Ying the whole time, and then when they split apart, now it goes back and forth. So that would be pretty neat to be able to follow Ziming on his journey and see how he joins Lan Di's crew, basically. Get to learn more about Niao Sun and Lan Di and all the other members of the Chiyu Men.
Now, would you, in your story, would you show that, like, Canadian reference, your TSN turning point of what puts Ziming over the edge to kind of take that different path, or would that not be revealed until the end? I think it'd be good if
it's startling enough, yeah, I'd save it, but I don't know what that would be. I just thought it was just like a gradual building up of rage that he just couldn't hold back any longer. But yeah, maybe something specific happened, but I'm not sure what that would be.
And is your game the same as mine, where Shenmue 1 and 2 have already been released, Shenmue 3 not released?
Basically, it comes out now, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you can follow Ziming half the time in his quest for knowledge about his parents' killers and how he gets involved with the wrong people. You could, you have to make some bad choices as him. You have to do some bad things and make you feel bad. But then on the other hand, you have Zhu Ying, who is the complete opposite and is like... Okay, so I went on YouTube and I looked for Zhu Ying videos, and there's one, I think it was put up by Blue Mew. It's a compilation of a certain part of the game where you can ask the question to NPCs what they know about Zhu Ying, basically. And it's like a 20-minute video of all the different responses that are available. And what you learn is that basically everyone loves her. She's a great person. Nobody has anything bad to say about her. So you'd have her brother you play as, you do bad things. You'd have her you play as, you do really good things, you help people. Through these conversations that I listened to, I learned that she's a good person. She's a good scholar. She cleaned up the Manmo Temple. Like, it used to be really run down and shitty, but once she took it over, she cleaned it up. The attendance got better. And she never uses her looks to get by, despite everyone. The first thing everybody says is, "Oh, that beautiful girl? Oh, she's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah." Basically, all of China wants to bone Zhu Ying. But, yeah, she never uses her looks to her advantage to get anything. She's kind of like Ryo in that way, where she just ignores that sex part of her life.
I thought you were going to say Ryo doesn't use his looks to get
well,
get anything.
Doesn't.
Hey.
He could.
Maybe this handsome face can get a free move scroll.
But this is where I need you, because I can't remember. I thought maybe she wasn't always like that. Maybe she, at one point, she had like a romantic tryst with somebody, and could it have been Gui Zhang? Does she know Gui Zhang and Master Chen? Is she who Master Chen sends you to China to talk to? Or is he,
yes.
Or does he send you to talk to Yuan de Zhu? Does he send you to talk to Li Xiaotao or Yuan de Zhu? I can't remember.
Should we pause this and look this up and come back? Because I'm very interested.
I looked for it and I couldn't really find it.
I think he sends you to both.
Okay. Because I know you find her first.
Because he sends a letter to Li Xiaotao, doesn't he?
Maybe. So I think she knows them, and I would say she's probably around Gui Zhang's age. They're pretty similar, I think, and I think they could have had a fling, but they broke it off without going too far for whatever reason.
Master Chen doesn't approve.
Yeah.
In my mind, I don't know why this just went there, but I'm just picturing like Gui Zhang just boning her, and Mr. Chen watching and be like, "You're putting too much force in this."
Oh, God, in your legs. Oh, God. Oh, no.
Sorry.
But yeah, you could follow her as she, like, meets Han Hui and, like, impresses him, and gets him to, like, train under her and stuff, and she starts up her temple, and she basically adopts Fang Mei. And I was thinking maybe, like, after she left the orphanage and her brother abandoned her, basically, like, she had nobody, and she gets too old to be at the orphanage anymore, and then she's basically out in the streets, and you have to fend for yourself. And maybe she learns from some new teachers, and at some point she's got to get into the scholarly thing, because she has all those books, those martial arts books. So I was thinking those could be your main mission, like your main thrust of the game is recovering all these ancient scrolls and martial arts books, and you learn from them, and you can see your martial arts techniques of your character change over time from more striking techniques to the more counters and dodges that we know her for. So like the way you fight changes.
Do you think, just kind of side topic here, because you mentioned her leaving the orphanage, does it ever actually say in Shenmue 2 what her relationship is with Fang Mei? Like, she works for her, like, doesn't she? Like, she's her helper or assistant? She's
her helper, yeah, and then she lives with her.
Do you think, like, she kind of took Fang Mei in to kind of have that family-esque feeling?
Well, she just empathizes because she was an orphan, too.
Yeah.
So, she likes orphans. Like, there's a few kid characters in that video that speak very highly of her, too. Like, there's, like, some girl who sells groceries or something, and she, like, dropped Zhu Ying's groceries, and she was afraid that she was going to get in trouble, but Zhu Ying was very nice to her and says, like, oh, that's alright, blah, blah, blah. So she likes kids, especially orphan kids. But she's a good person all around. But I guess I would need, besides I don't know, can you think of any other people that she had, that we know she had troubles with, or associations with? Like, I can't remember all of her backstory and who knew her and who she knew.
I don't think they really get into it a whole lot. I think it'd be cool too in your version of Shenmue Zero if there's some sort of her training Han Hui, and like it boosts your stats as her for imparting this knowledge onto others. And who, like, there's the other kind of goofy guy that's cleaning the walls too, right?
Yeah.
You know, have some interaction with him to see, like, even if it's just like a cutscene of him being hired, and I say that in air quotes, to like work at Manmo Temple, kind of things, just to humanize her, to take out of the just go martial arts straight and narrow type personality. Yeah. Like, give little glimpses into.
Well, that's what I was thinking with the Gui Zhang love tryst thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know who could be the antagonist, like the main antagonist of the game, like who's been like hoarding all these martial arts books and stuff and maybe selling them on a black market or something. I don't think she knew any of the evil characters that Ryo encounters. I don't think she knew them previously to Ryo coming into her life.
Do you know what I think would be a cool way to find out is they could, you know, there's these books, you could make it almost like there's 4 main books, and then have the people that teach you the wood, have them, you know, kind of tell a story of who has the book. So you interact with that person who teaches Ryo the wood, and then that person gives you the information to go find someone else that you need to defeat or interact with in some way, probably, a physical encounter, martial arts encounter, not boning, and, defeat them to get that book.
Yeah.
And it could be done in kind of like a Breath of the Wild Zelda way, where you can choose to do them in any order.
Yeah. Yeah, it would work. Yeah, like each wood, whatever. Each one is a different mission, and she has to learn about the essence of that voodoo.
Yeah. Because then you wouldn't necessarily have to have that really strong main antagonist, right?
Yeah.
You could the antagonist could be her brother, and just.
But as far as we know, they never met again.
You never have to meet him again, but you just know that his personality, what happened to him, like his experience is kind of the antagonist.
Yeah.
And you her not wanting to go down that path.
Yeah, you go back and forth in the playable characters as she learns something new and profound and good and altruistic. You the next section you play is him, and he's doing something
the other side
terrible.
Of the coin type idea.
Yeah, that would work. That'd be a cool idea for a game, I think. But you tell us, what do you think of our ideas, and help us expand on them, because that'd be cool.
Yeah, it would.
Or write a fanfic.
Yeah, that's essentially what we're doing here.
Yeah.
But yeah, please send us your Shenmue Zero ideas. If we get a couple of them, we could do another episode about this.
Yeah.
I would love to hear what people have to say, their theories.
How about people could even send us voicemails if they want, and basically explain voicemails or emails, and we could play them or read them.
Yeah.
On your ideas.
We would love to hear your ideas.
Where do they send those?
Shenmue AM2 podcast at gmail.com.
Thanks for the reminder, but that's my line.
We are also on Twitter at Shenmue AM2 Pod. We're on Facebook, Shenmue AM2 Podcast. We have a group and a page, and youtube.com/Shenmue AM2 Podcast. We are also now on iHeartRadio, and we are on, I don't know how long ago we were on, but we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes. Big thank you to everyone out there who has ever downloaded us from an iTunes-based service. We have surpassed 10,000 downloads as of yesterday.
Cool.
Which would have been June 23rd, and we are very quickly approaching 10,000 views on YouTube.
Sweet.
So, thanks to everyone. This has been a pretty cool ride so far, and more to come. So, we would like to thank our sponsor this week, Moonchild Orphanage.
Using QTE machines to train an army of child soldiers since 1985.
Bye, guys.
Bye.